Welcome to the HMO Property Podcast, where we connect, educate and inspire the UK's HMO property community. So stop what you're doing, sit back, relax and enjoy the story. What's up, HMO Nation, and welcome to another episode of the HMO Property Podcast with me, Rupert Wallace, in association with HMOHub.co.uk. In this episode, we're interviewing successful HMO property investor, Ryan Carruthers. Ryan's going to take us on his HMO property investment journey, including the ups, the downs, the highs, and the lows. Now, Ryan's been investing in HMOs for some 7 years now. He's completed over 40 HMO projects, currently houses just 10 HMO tenants himself. So let's jump straight in. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. It's an honour to be on the show.
As a fellow podcaster, I'm really happy to get you on board. You know the pain that we go through. Ryan, before we dive into the details, tell us about yourself. Give us your background before you started your HMO journey.
Wow. Okay. So my background before HMOs and before property was very different to what it is now. So I was a student doing physiotherapy. So my background is physiotherapy. I was selling makeup at university as well to get me through university. And then when I finished university, I ran my father's window cleaning company for a good couple of years. He wasn't very well, and I sort of took over that company for him. And then alongside all of that, I was trading on the Betfair exchange. And then from that is where Betfair and me were collaborating. I created a business to teach people to trade on the exchanges. And then somebody made me an offer to buy that company from me. I was a very young lad, and I thought, you can have it. I'm off to buy a Range Rover. And I know, crazy, hey? And then I offered on a little house instead. And that is then where this whole sort of property journey started. But yeah, so a mixed background before property. And very different things: makeup, physio, window cleaning, and trading on Betfair.
And how many years post uni did you do in the non-property world, in your father's business, in your own other businesses? Yeah,
so I was in that for sort of 2 to 3 years, running alongside the Betfair business and the window cleaning business, and I loved it. It was so much fun, and I learned so many skills that I didn't realise have set me up to be where I am today. I mean, for example, my dad used to be a builder. So he came home one day and I was young and said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to be a window cleaner, and built this business. And it was a big business that he had. And every time he needed a staff member, he used to be a contractor. So he used to ring up his old mates who were builders. Do you want to get out of the building game? Yes. So then when I took over that, I was looking after ex-builders. Their mentality hadn't changed. So that set me up in very good stead. I made a lot of mistakes. I said a lot of things I shouldn't have done, as you do. And that set me up in really good stead to be able to get better at managing builders at property.
I would imagine that once you get to know those guys, they're incredibly great guys to know because they bring such experience.
Yeah, 100%. And it's being able to, business is all about people. When you realize that, it changes the game. And people, by the very nature of them, want to help, and people want to feel like that they're valued and that their knowledge is worth something. So having that core of people to be able to speak to is amazing. And as well, as you want to scale up in in your property journey or your property career or any career, being able to say to somebody, you know, that thing that you used to do, sort of, how was that? You know, what went wrong? What went right? It's experience. You know, some of these guys have been on like 500-600 sites, like for units of 600, and to be able to just go, so what are the common issues? And also to just ring my dad up and go, Dad, I need a plumber. Have you got one? And he goes, yeah. Ring this guy or this guy or this guy and tell him I sent you. And then I tell them that, and then I'm Tom's son, and they knew me from when I was like this big, not this big. And yeah, it was amazing to be able to learn from them, and how to speak to people was the big thing that I learned from them.
There's huge value in that. Huge value in that. So how did you get into the world of HMO property investing?
So I got into HMOs because I wanted to. So I offered on a property, and I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy that, and it was going to be a single let, and I was going to buy it cash with the sale of my business, and I was going to carry on trading on Betfair, and then use my Betfair money to buy more property. And I was very fortunate at that point where I met a guy who wanted to buy it off me effectively. So I became effectively a deal sourcer for one client, and I did quite a few transactions with him. And then I was like, do you know what? I want to keep some of these deals. You know, I want to build this business. I want to build a property business and a cash flow business. And a couple of things happened. I heard Gavin Barry speak. So we are rolling back the years now. If any of the listeners remember Gavin Barry, I saw him speak and talk about student property, and I'd always just had this voice in the back of my head that students in my city was the way to go. It was the way to do it. There's a university's growing, so that was in the back of my mind. And then I met Kim Stones, who became my business partner at the time, and Kim was an animal, like HMO animal. Like at the time, he had like 400 rooms either owned or managed. So to bring that experience and then my energy together, it was amazing. And that is how I got started. We started to look for HMOs in Lincoln and do them as joint ventures together. And that's sort of how it was really. Kim saw something in me, and he had the experience. So we could really push on.
And was there anything holding you back?
No, so I'm a little bit weird. I don't ever really feel like there's ever an obstacle for me. I don't know where this comes from. I have this innate belief, not in an arrogant, I can do anything way, but in okay, there is an obstacle there, but I think I can find somebody who will help me with that obstacle. And that's all I've done. I've found people more experienced than me, and I've never seemed to take a step too far. I'm very analytical, and I break everything down to what has to happen for me to profit. So what's the upside? What's the downside? And can I live with the downside? And then I try and break down everything that can go wrong and then find out answers to that. And then that's where I find people who are prepared to help me, and just find the answers to the problem from more experienced people than me, but not going to this and going, do you know what? I want 400 HMO rooms in 12 months. It's like, no, that's not, I'm not going to do that. It's where are we now? Where are we at point A, and where do I want to get to at point B? And what are the incremental safe steps for me to get there? And who do I need to be able to help me get there? And that's sort of how I've done it with everything, really. So I wouldn't say that there's anything holding me back. It's always been building relationships with people who I can benefit them and they can benefit me. And that's sort of how I've done it, really.
I guess a lot of that's the trader in you, combined with the experience of running businesses early. You know, you talked about looking at the upside and the downside. doing some risk management, but also using that early experience combined sounds like a bit of a winning formula, actually.
Yeah, you need a team. You can't do everything, and nor should you. And you're not the best at everything. And I learned that very, very, very quickly. And the faster that you can build a team and have people around you, the better your results are going to be. And then you track those things with scorecards and dashboards and different bits and bobs, so that you know where you are at all times, and you know where you're not. So then you have to get real and go, well, actually, we are letting the side down there, and then there's a reason for that. Why is something not being done? And one of the things that I've learned as well is a lot of people talk about systems and having a system. Systems are great, but it's a repeatable task usually for a system. And a lot of the things that I did have been automation. So if it's a repeatable task and I can get it automated, even my HMOs, there's a point where I'd not been in one of my HMOs for like 3 years, but tenants were leaving and moving in. But I think as well that I want to empower the staff and the team. I don't want to just say, there's the system, follow it. I want them to be the best version of themselves they can be. And I want to bring this culture into the business that they own their role and they feel proud about their role. And that's what I've learned through many business books, talking to many people who are a lot older than me, who are a lot more successful than me. And that's sort of where all of that has come from, really. And it's been amazing.
Ryan, tell us about your very first HMO property deal. What you bought it for, what you spent on it, who it was targeted at, what you did. Give us a flavour of that journey.
Okay, so the very, very first HMO deal I did was a property that was in auction. It had been to auction a couple of times and hadn't sold. And I went on Land Registry. I sent the owner a letter, and he got back to me and says, yeah, okay, let me ring you. And he rang me up, and I'll never forget him. He was a really successful businessman anyway, and he was so just blunt and to the point on the phone, and you're trying to build the rapport, you're trying to find out what they're trying to achieve, and he wasn't really bothered. He was like, you can buy it. You know the way. We've spoken to many vendors like this. He was just like, you can buy it off me at this price. I didn't actually think it was worth that price at the time. I thought it was worth a lot less than that. But as a vendor, they're always trying to push for a little bit more. And his parting comment to me as a throwaway comment was, well, do you know what? If you want, you can just rent it off me. You just rent it off me and buy it in a few years. And I'd done quite a few lease options anyway. And I was just like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to agree a price with you legally. So we're doing a lease option and I'll rent it off you. So it was a residential property at the time. It was on a standard AST. Tenant had moved out. It was empty. Tried to sell it through auction and hadn't been able to. And the property needed some work. It needed some refurb. And I said to him, okay, I'll give you £600 a month then, and I'll buy it off you for 120 grand in sort of 4 years time. And he said, yeah. So exchanged solicitors details, got it all set up. And it was one I was always going to keep in the portfolio. It was cracker. And it was just outside of the city centre, but very close to the RAF camps, and also closer to Highcombe in Lincoln. Now, one of the things that I know as well, if not better than anybody, is this city. I used to clean windows in this city. I used to drive around the areas of this city. There is no better education in property than getting your feet on the ground, walking an area. You will see more opportunities. You will find the people that live in those areas. You will understand the target market in that area. If you've got more data than anybody else, you will always do better. It's the trader, it's the marketer in me. So I knew the kind of area that was in. I knew which people would want to live there, why they would want to live there, and how we could tailor it to them. So with it being just out, there was off-street parking with no restrictions. It was great for the RAF bases, and it was also great for Hycombe, where there was professionals working in schools and lots of other industry, but it was close enough to town that professionals could get into town. So we aimed it at the professional market, and we spent about 15 grand doing this property up. And that was me. I was ripping the property out. I was building the furniture. I was tiling in the bathroom. I was calling on
You were
trades,
doing everything.
Everything. I was calling on trades to come and fit emergency lighting, fire alarms, all after work that were friends of mine. I was calling on everybody I knew, pulling in every favour I could to get it HMO ready. And I'll never actually forget that I'd been there all week grafting on this property. It was August bank holiday, and the girlfriend at the time, now wife, turned up to help me build 6 bedrooms worth of IKEA furniture. And August bank holiday, me and her put all of this furniture up together. So it's a 6-bed HMO, and that property I loved. It's the first HMO. I loved it. It made really, really good money for many, many years. And yeah, that was the first deal, really.
Sounds like a good one.
Yeah. Oh, it's reminiscing now. It's getting me all excited. I'm like, oh.
So since you started to invest in HMO property those years ago, Ryan, how has your life changed since?
Wow. It's amazing. I love my life. It's absolutely amazing. It's changed. It's freedom. I've got freedom to be sat talking to you today in a pair of jeans and a hoodie, and waving at people who come past this meeting room who want to talk to me. It's given me a really good work-life balance as well. Like, my work and my life are as one. I can go play golf, but the people I play golf with, I also do business with. And it's just, yeah, I don't know what else to say on that one. It's given me freedom, and the ability to be able to enjoy what I want to enjoy.
That's good. That's something worth celebrating. What's your favourite part of HMO property investing, Ryan?
Pulling a deal. 100%. I absolutely love pulling a deal. I love pulling a deal, and I love being on site. And I think this is key for anybody. When you get into anything, whether it's HMO investing or business or anything, look at what you'd like to do and what you aren't that good at. And as soon as you can, like literally as soon as you can, get rid of what you're not very good at. One of the things that I did was I wrote down what I was doing daily, what I was doing weekly, and what I was doing monthly. And then anything I could outsource, I did. And then that now allows me to chase deals and be on site. That's my favorite part of HMO investing. That's what I do. That's what I'm best at. That's what I really like to drive forward and do. So I just want to do more of it.
That's a really key learning point for HMO Nation who are listening to this podcast, is that property, when you feel the responsibility to do everything, and property is quite a lonely journey sometimes anyway, especially in the beginning, it's actually not to your benefit to take on all of those tasks. Yeah, all of us, I'm sure at some point have made that mistake where we really want to be in control of everything. We really want to be this, property investor person, but that doesn't mean you have to do everything.
100%, and nor should you, because you aren't the best person in that role. You're not going to do that the best way. One of the books I read called Traction by Gino Wickman changed my life. And it's all about right person, right seat. And when you understand that and you put the people in the right seat where they should be, they will flourish and you'll get better results of it. And I know that if you've got 2 or 3 HMOs and you're going to use all of that cash to build the team, I know it's scary, but long term, it will have a massive impact on your happiness and the success of your business and your HMO journey.
Absolutely. You are preaching to the converted, my friend. Ryan, we've talked about the past. Before we move on to the present and your future plans in HMO property, let's take a minute to thank our sponsors.
Are you looking for an effortless HMO mortgage experience? If that's a yes, there's only one place to go: www.thehmomortgagebroker.co.uk, the UK's #1 specialist HMO mortgage broker. They're so specialised that they don't do anything else. HMO mortgages, HMO remortgages, and HMO bridging. That's it. They have access to every HMO lender out there, and even some exclusive products not available to other brokers. With lightning fast service and A1 communication, they're easily the best HMO broker in town. So to experience HMO lending made easy, go to www.thehmomortgagebroker.co.uk today.
Ryan, fast forwarding to the current day, tell us about your current portfolio and tell us about that vast array of 40 projects that you went through.
Okay, so current portfolio is one building. I got rid of the portfolio of HMOs I had in the city in Lincoln. I had 5 HMOs. Up until that point, I'd been doing a lot of buying and selling and moving things on, and various different bits and bobs. And throughout all of that sort of build up of my career in property, it was doing deals, just getting them in and getting them gone. I did a lot of that and learned a hell of a lot. And that was my education in property, working for one person effectively to find deals. So I got to do so many deals with his money and move some good deals on. But currently I have a old pub which I converted into a mixed use scheme. So it is a commercial unit. It is 4 one-bed flats, and it is a 4-bed ensuite HMO and a 6-bed ensuite HMO, all in one building for 4,500 square foot building. And I realised that less is more for me. And having one building of that size that I bought for a very good figure, which I'm sure we're gonna go into, was just amazing. And I go, how many more of them do I actually need? And then
tell us about it. Tell us about that deal.
So early on when I was in property, I met a guy who's become a very, very good friend of mine now. And he had an amazing portfolio, but at the core of it, 3 pubs that he converted in student accommodation. And I thought, God, you know what? If I had 3 pubs converted, I'd sell everything else off. I'd pay down some of my mortgages, which is crazy for a young person to say because everyone's talking about leverage and, and not for me. Less is more. I pay down on them. And then I got a call from an agent, and I don't care what anyone says, agents will give you good deals. And some of my best deals have come from agents. You've just got to build that rapport with them and do what you say you're going to do. She rings me up. I've got a building perfect for you. It's a pub. You're going to love it. It's 250 grand. It's 4,500 square feet. We're in Lincoln though, remember? So prices are a little bit different if anyone's listening from down south. And I don't, there was a queue of people for this building, and still to this day, people who were behind me in the queue, some were in front of me, and I don't know how I got in front of them, said, I don't know how they're bloody hell you got that. So turn up, do the viewing. I walked straight out of the building and said to the agent, I'll give you full asking. Just take it off the market. I'll have it. And she said, okay, I've got to ring the vendor. I'll ring them now because I know you. So she rang them and said, oh yeah, they say 250, but it's plus VAT. And I was like, oh, what? VAT? Like VAT? What the hell? I knew nothing about that. I said, oh, tell them I'll give them an extra 10 grand if they negate the VAT. And she said, okay, just 1 minute, just like literally on the phone to them right now, and said, would you do 260 if you get rid of the VAT? Yeah. I said, okay, I'll exchange and complete in a month. Let's get it done. And I knew at the time I would have to go in for planning on the building, but there was already a residential flat in the building, so I knew that I could put 6 beds in there without planning. And it was pre-Article 4 as well, because Lincoln's got Article 4. So I did 6 straight away. And I thought, worst case scenario, I'll do the 6. I'll get a tenant in the commercial and I'll sort the rest out. Went in for planning, sat with the architect who was like, you got such a big building, we could make this a massive, massive, massive HMO. It's like, I don't want that. I was like, this is aimed at the student market, but I want to future-proof this building. So I want to design this building in a way. All of my experience leading up to this was like, we have a blank canvas here. We can create a plant room. Everything can come up, go across, and get down into every single unit here. So if anything needs replacing, it's easy. We can have everything stored in one room. Everything can come into one room, which is why I like the bigger buildings so much. And I said, I don't want this massive, massive HMO. Like, they were talking big numbers. So I don't want that. I want to future-proof this building. What happens if something happens to HMO rules? What happens if something changes? What happens if, very recently, room sizes have changed? What happens if I've squeezed lots of rooms in and I can't use 10 of them or 8 of them or whatever? I wanted big rooms, I wanted to serve a market, and I wanted en suites. And that's where the plan came. So on the ground floor, we put 4 one-bed flats, which were all aimed at students, which actually set the record for student rentals in the city. And then upstairs, we put a 6-bed flat here, all en suite, and then a 4-bed flat here, all with separate entrances. And yeah, that was an amazing deal for me. It won a Property Investor Award for the best HMO deal of the year.
Tell us a bit more about the numbers, Ryan. Bought for 250. What did you spend on it? What it's worth today?
I bought for 260. I then put 300,000 into it. I got a valuation of 1.1 million on the building. So money came out of the deal, which is amazing. And yeah, the gross rent roll on that building is 115,000 plus a year, a net yield of well over sort of 12, 13, 14% on that one still. And it just keeps getting better every year. It keeps being full, and first viewing it goes. And that's why I love the students as well. The cycle for students is brilliant for HMOs. Very
predictable.
Yeah, look how excited I am about it now. It's well, I've had experience with the professional sector. I've had experience with the student one, and then I've also been exposed through Kim's experience to a lot of local housing authority in Doncaster, where Kim was based. I know that I love the students. The student it's more predictable. They come as a group. They most of the time resolve their own issues. It's easier as well to find a HMO agent who does student well. Like finding a HMO letting agent that does professionals well.
Very rare.
Very rare.
Ryan, next up, tell us about one significant mistake that you've made in your HMO business that by sharing, you might help others avoid.
Oh man, so many. Like the way I dealt with tenants, that I would personally deal with them and didn't have proper teams in place and proper setups in place. The fact that there's so many that I didn't get into students quicker. I always knew students were going to be my target market. So I think know your target market and work back from that. I should have got into students so much earlier. And then I could have got them managed quicker, which became part of the team to handle that.
But have you got like one specific instance or, one thing that happened where you're like, that was one mistake that I really need to learn from, one instance?
There's so many that spring to mind. I'm trying to think of one. Keys, like
okay.
Key coded doors with thumb turns on the back. That'll change your life. And a key safe outside, because then you can have a contractor key or your key to get in and out of the property. And then they've got key codes on the doors, so you don't need keys, because keys are horrible. Oh yeah, that, and utilities as well. Oh my God. Try and find one provider.
Great. Love it. Next up, Ryan, tell us about your HMO portfolio plans for the next 12 months, if you have any.
So I am looking at larger units now. So I fundamentally buy three things at present. I will buy flips because they generate cash, big chunks of cash, which I can pay down on my larger building. I will buy commercial buildings to convert, and then from there I will do a mixture of flats, small HMOs, or some like 5-6 bedders targeted at students with their specific needs in mind, and that will be going forward for sort of short term, medium term, five years. I'll hold on to them for that period and then look to either get rid of them or build them out in a way that I can change with the market. And you can do that with a big building. The way you design it, you can easily convert them back into flats or 2 flats. And I've got a couple of those coming through. And I am obsessed with land and options on land and flipping land.
Tell us more.
So I will take options on land. I will get planning. I will flip them on. I will look to build as well. So for me, very, very specific on what I pick on everything. I think you need a plan and you need to know what you're looking for. So then that can give you that path to go, this is what I'm looking for. That doesn't fit my needs. Okay, go give it to that person because it's not for me. So I will look at stuff where I can get 10 units on or less. And then I'll make a decision on whether I'm going to flip that on with planning or whether I am going to build that out. And again, this comes back to the fact that I have people around me who handle a lot of the other bits, which allows me to do the deals. And whether that's a flip, whether that's finding a commercial to then go and do a HMO in or land, that's what I'm best at. That's what I bring to the company. That's what I should be doing in that role. So, yeah.
You are a deal maker, man, and it is great to see that energy. Great
Thank
to
you.
see. How about anything else apart from building the property portfolio? Is there anything else that you're up to that you'd like to share with HMO Nation apart from your wonderful podcast, which is getting a relaunch?
Yes. So my podcast is getting a relaunch. moredealsmoremoney.com, and that's where the podcast is going to be. And I'm just talking to deal makers on that. Why they did the deal, and also funders on why they funded it. So I have that, and then I have another business aside from property, which is called betfairtradingcommunity.com, which is a business which wants to take the 95% of losing traders and turn them into winning traders. So I have a forum, you get private coaching, there's a course on there, I give you stats software to be able to find value trades on Betfair. It's been a massive part of my life, and up until very recently was something that I didn't talk openly about until I spoke for John Corey, and there was a lady in the audience, and she was like, you need to tell people what you do because it's the way you analyze your trades. And she was ex investment banking. She was like, the way you analyze your trades, the way your thought process is naturally is what you do with property, and people should know that. And I never ever thought anything of it. I just thought, well, I'm making money on Betfair trading, and who wants to know about that?
Turns out quite a few people.
Yeah. It's a strong membership.
Next up, Ryan, what advice would you give to any current HMO investors? That's people who are already invested in the HMO market.
Unsexy works. So unsexy works, and don't get swept up with the romance of it. So track everything. So track the maintenance, track the void rate, track how fast those rooms are being full, track how long people are staying for. Because by doing that, you can see where your business is today, and it helps you plan for the future. A very, very sophisticated property investor said that to me as well, and he said he does this so that every year he will sell the weakest performing HMO in his portfolio, and he will replace that with a different HMO. And he says that's not just going out and just finding one or converting one. I might buy one off the shelf. But because he tracks everything, he knows what works in his portfolio and what doesn't. And I think that's key. And you can't hide from the data, can you? If you've got the data in front of you, you go, well, why has that room been empty so much? What is called? And it gives you that, well, I need to find out that. So why is that room empty? You know, do I need to redecorate it? Does it not look very good? How far away is it from X, Y, and Z? So I think track everything. Just track everything as much as you can. And remember that the unsexy just works.
The data doesn't lie. What about any advice you'd give to people who are looking to get into HMO property investing for the very first time?
So my advice would be research. So don't just think about that upside, think about the downside, and can you handle that? One of the great things that I learned from Kim was something about emotional bank account. So can you actually handle the ups and downs of being a HMO landlord? You know, you are going to have them. Tenants aren't going to pay their rent. They are going to disappear and they've just gone then, and you're never going to get that money back, or they're going to trash a room. If you can't handle that, don't get into HMOs, do something else with your money, put it in the stock market, or, you know, team up with somebody, because that is going to stagnate your success massively. And also why you don't have to do it. But I'd also say as well, if you are wanting to get into HMOs, reach out to people. You know, there's some amazing resources out there like yours at HMO Hub. Find people doing what you think you want to be doing and ask them what it's actually like, and they will tell you, and they will share warts and all. Just like on this podcast that you're doing, you're getting people on who are experienced to talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. So by doing that and listening to podcasts like this and talking to people in your community and people in their community, you will find the answers to the questions that you don't even think you have yet. And you will think about things that you go, oh, I didn't know that, because you're new, and somebody will explain it to you, and you will learn a hell of a lot. And I think that would be my advice. Just do the research. Don't get caught up in the romance of HMOs. Find everything you can about them. Think about the upside, think about the downside, and more importantly, can you handle that? And if you can, crack on, because you will do well from them.
Yeah, and absolutely, it's important that we focus on those points, because a lot of the HMO educators in this industry, you know, they will sell you on the romance of being an HMO landlord, and it's romantic in theory, but it's very practical in reality. So I really like those points you made.
Thank you,
Ryan. Before we sign off, we'd like you to recommend one great HMO resource or business book that you'd like to share. Then let HMO Nation know how they can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
So the book I'd recommend is Traction by Gino Wickman. It will change your life. So if anyone's read the E-Myth is like sets the foundation. This catapults you. It's one of the most incredible books I've ever read in my life. It's really simple. My advice is to anybody to get the actual book. I don't know if it'll be as good on Audible, because there's a lot of pictures and a lot of depicting of things that work really well in an actual book. That book has set me up so well. And yeah, I think that is something that everybody would learn something from. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, so it's Ryan Carruthers. If you want to email me, you can. It's ryan@venturepropertylincoln.co.uk, which is a very long email address. But I can't shorten it to VPL, because apparently that stands for visible panty line. And I also, if you want to catch me on the podcast, it's moredealsmoremoney.com. And yeah, that's the best sort of ways to get hold of me.
Great stuff. We'll make sure we link up all of your contact details on your show notes page, Ryan. Ryan, we thank you for sharing your journey. We salute you. Let's get an HMO high five. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. If you've enjoyed this and want more informational, educational and inspirational HMO property content, then please hit the subscribe button and give us a like. See you next time.